Hello, I'm live. I know I'm a little bit early, so I'll wait for you guys to show up. When you show up, if you can just give me a little message, let me know that you're here. Comment. Just leave a comment there. Hello, Shauna. Kelly, hi. Good, Sharon. We're all coming now. Yeah, you're all coming now. There's 10 of you here at the moment, so 8. Great. That's fantastic. We'll give it a few minutes like we did last week as well. Good. Yeah, there's 11 of you here at the minute, so we'll just give it maybe 5 minutes in total, just to make sure that everybody's here. And then we'll push on because we didn't really get finished last week with some stuff. So there's a lot to do today. And it's very, very difficult to fit. I mean, there's so much knowledge, there's so much wisdom, there's so much that we can do to develop ourselves, that I have crammed into 20 years. Very difficult to talk about everything in 12 hours. So there will be some stuff that probably won't get talked about, and probably some stuff that I'll say afterwards. Wish I had mentioned that. So yeah, everybody's jumping on board now. We'll start soon. Yeah, like before, if you just drop a message if there's a question that you need to ask, if there's anything important, and I'll try to remember to look down here at the messages. If somebody could just drop me a message at the moment, because I'm never quite sure if this is actually just showing me the first couple of messages or not. If somebody could just drop a wee message and say hi, hello. Yeah, I'm not seeing the messages. I'm seeing 3 of them, which is unfortunate. Don't really know how to remedy that. Shauna, if you could just send me a wee message and say hi again. I know you already have, so if you could just say hi again, you see if this is actually showing me the messages. Oh, here, we've got it. Great. So, yeah, thank you. What I have to do then is every so often I have to refresh the comment feed. Susan, thank you. Yeah, that's 22, 23 now. Eliza, when you're live, you only see 3 people's comment at a time. All right, thanks, Colette. That's good to know. Yeah, and then you have to, literally go over to the message feed and scroll down the wee bar, and then that shows you the last messages. Hi, Ev. So there's 25 here at the moment. We'll just give another few moments. I reckon there should be about maybe 40 of you here tonight. Not everybody can make the evening, the live feed, so last week what happened was we had a surge of energy, and that very often happens with me because I'm I'm a shaman that works with thunder and lightning. One of my tools in my bag, and it's not very conducive for working with technology. So we had a surge of energy. There was a bolt of lightning, and the power went out. The electricity went out. Thankfully, just as we'd finished up. So hi Orla. Just as we'd finished up, so that was great. Yeah. Hi, Catherine. Okay. Great. Okay, so I think, well, it's 5 past, maybe just another couple of minutes. 26 people on at the moment. Shortly, we'll be talking about different levels of consciousness and how they relate to spiritual realms, and what's actually happening with you, with your spiritual development and with your psychic development as you make those shifts through levels of consciousness. And what can you can expect in way of psychic phenomena, trance states, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about first this evening, and then we'll move on to the psychic senses and various ways that you can start developing them now. Okay. Yes, I think we'll push on now. I'll show you this diagram, and I have posted this diagram in the group photos. So if you go to the group, go to media, go to photos, and then albums, week 2, and you'll see this diagram in week 2. And you might want to print that out for yourself or to study it for those of you who really are beginning your development journey, because I was blessed to have black elk. You know, it was 2002, and I had just come out of hospital from a near-death experience. 3 months in hospital, and I had died for a minute. And when I come back, black elk was my clairaudience, my clairvoyance was back. You know, because I had lost it for a while, and it was suddenly back. And here was this Indian again, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I trust you anymore, but trust him I did, and we began a journey of development. And I was very blessed to have him. It was like having someone physically there saying to me, Eliza, this is what's happening with you. Tell me this, guys. Colette, could you just send me a wee message and let me know, can you hear me loud enough? Or do I need to put the sound up? I'm just checking out my my sound to see how loud it is. Laptop's slow. So it's up pretty full. Oh, thank you, Mariana. That's great. That's great, because I think last week was a wee bit low. Thank you very much, Tricia. Thanks, Emma. Yeah. So yeah, I had this person literally beside me all the time, 24/7, saying to me, listen, Eliza, this is what's going on with you. This is why it's happening. This is what you can expect. And literally drip feeding me every step of the way. And I mean every step, every moment of the way. I had him telling me what was going on. So, I mean, I do count myself as being extremely blessed in that respect. And so now I'm in a position to pass on his teachings to you in the way that he taught me. Now, of course, the way that I'm going to teach you today is almost like an advanced level of what he taught me as we went along. Because of course I was starting from the beginning and was understanding it from a beginner's understanding, whereas now I can talk to you from an advanced understanding. To begin with, you see at the bottom of the diagram, ego consciousness is an ordinary consciousness. We talk about that being the 13th realm. We talk about 12 realms of spirit, the 12 chakras, 7 in the body and 5 outside of the body. And we talk about the ego consciousness as being the 13th. And some people even would refer to that, and I like to refer to that as being what people see as hell. You know, it's not a spirit. It is, all worlds are spiritual worlds, in degrees of density, as we talked about last week. But the 13th, the ego, is the most dense world, and so you can imagine that the person that's very much grounded in an ego consciousness only is focused very much on their basic instincts, sexual awareness, hunger, thirst, desires, things like even with joy and love, yes, but also greed, gluttony, things like that. And it's very much grounded in the three-dimensional world, a very heavy three-dimensional world, a shadowy world. And we talk about those souls as being asleep. So when we talk about being awake and we're having a spiritual awakening, that can come in many, many different forms. It can come like with me, with a near-death experience, which is like a wow, you know, what has happened here, and all of this light is flooded into my soul. And I meet with St. Paul, and I wake up in hospital 3 days later, and okay, everything's different, you know. But not many people have that level of awakening. Most people start to become interested in spirituality, and they get a feeling that everything that they've known in their life up to date about religion, about spirit or whatever, that there's much more to life than that, that there's more to it than that. And so they start to investigate, and they start to attract people towards them that are talking about these things that they themselves are starting to open up. Their consciousness is starting to open up to that. So you attract into your life the people and the answers and the opportunities from the universe that are going to reflect to you that which you are wakening up to. So you'll never be overwhelmed. You know, some of you might think that some of the things that I would say to you are a bit, oh my God, what does she mean? I don't understand that. But believe me, that is what you are wakening up to. What you see in me, what you see from me, or what you're hearing from me is exactly what it is that you want to hear right now, that you want to tell yourself right now. And in that respect, I'm kind of like a mirror. You've heard that phrase. I'm just a mirror. Thank you, Roisin. Sound is good. Okay. So this person in ego consciousness is very much asleep and grounded in what I call separation consciousness, where they believe that everything and everyone is separate from them, and that even God is something that's outside of even the soul. That the soul may come from God, but God is something that's out there somewhere, higher power. And that's what we call separation consciousness. And it's very much also what people in the spiritual community call the duality, the world of spirit and body. And we'll talk about the singularity soon, but just bear in mind what I said about the duality, where everything is like a mirror of the soul. There's I within, the I consciousness, which is the God consciousness within, and then there's everything else that is without. It's like a mirror of that. And real in their own respect as well. So you are a mirror of me, and I'm a mirror of you. That doesn't mean to say that if I'm a mirror of you that I'm not real. I am real. So from my perspective, you're the mirror. From your perspective, I'm the mirror. And each one of us, even though we're living out that reality, we're still living a reality of individuality, where you're you and I'm me. And the only connection we have is that we're Facebook friends or whatever on that level. So there's many, many, many different realities, many different levels. But for the sake of spiritual development, we really want to be starting to think that you're a mirror of me and I'm a mirror of you. Everything outside of you is a mirror of your consciousness. Okay. Remember last week I was saying Black Elk used to say to me, take everything back to yourself, because your consciousness and everything outside of you is a mirror of that consciousness. And that way you get to know yourself, you get to change what is, you get to be able to adapt the world as well. The next level of consciousness, I like to call that spiritual consciousness. People like us in a spiritual community, you have some kind of awakening where you wake out of the deep sleep that you're in, and you maybe not wide awake. I'm not wide awake, but I am certainly waking up. And we can have moments of clarity where you're wide awake, and those moments, we'll talk about that in a minute. Those are moments where you really get to experience God consciousness, and you'll not mistake it. It feels like nothing else that you've ever experienced before. But until then, we have spiritual experiences, and the spiritual experiences help us to shift, to wake up, to look in the mirror and see a little bit more of the truth within. And a lot of people, whenever I was writing my first book, and I didn't know this at the time, a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about their consciousness as being shattered pieces of a jigsaw, and they're bringing all the pieces back together again so that they can see the whole picture. So I didn't know that when I was writing my first book, but that's exactly how I described it in the first book. Rose, the heroine of the book, who represents me, is putting the pieces of the jigsaw together. So that's kind of what we're doing on this journey. We're putting pieces of looking into the mirror, seeing the pieces in the mirror that really resonate with us, that really punch us and say, oh gosh, yes, I feel that, that's true, I feel that. And we take that and we put it together with the rest of the pieces of the jigsaw, and eventually we start to see this picture of who we really are, as opposed to the person that was asleep. So spiritual consciousness, that levels of consciousness kind of take you up through the chakras. So we become aware of the chakras. These are the seven chakras in the body are all astral worlds, and we start to move up through all of those seven astral worlds, and the chakras get activated. So for example, in the root, there's our security and sense of groundedness and belonging to the earth. That gets activated. Our heart chakra, connected to love and relationships, that gets activated. Our throat chakra, connected to communication, the ability to merge body and soul, that gets activated. And so all of these attributes get activated. And there's, if you look at week 1, 2, there's a chart for the chakras for beginners. There's a chart for the chakras there, and the different spiritual attributes or personal attributes of the chakras. And so the spiritual consciousness, this level of spiritual consciousness, we kind of talk about that as being, you're no longer in a three-dimensional world. You're in a four-dimensional world. You shift into viewing the world from four dimensions. And that means the fourth dimension being the heart. Third dimensional is the solar plexus. So you get root, sacral, solar plexus, then heart. When we view the world from the heart, everything starts to shift. Everything starts to change and we start to become empowered. So we start to come into a four-dimensional view of the world. Not that physicality has four dimensions. It's three-dimensional. It'll always be three dimensions, but we view it with a fourth dimensional mind. There becomes that dimension of spirit, that dimension of love. I guess that's the fourth dimension. And then we talk about the fifth dimension. So in that rise up through the chakras and spiritual consciousness journey, we're really looking at going from third dimension to fourth dimension to fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension occurs when all the chakras are activated and they're all working through the heart. And then the Christ consciousness comes. And the Christ consciousness comes when your masculine energy and your feminine energy are balanced in the heart. We call that the twin flame in the heart. So this is what we talk about when we're talking about the twin flame being lit in the heart. Of course, when you have the masculine flame in the heart and a feminine flame in the heart lit, then that produces a third, or what we call the divine flame, the divine child, the Christ consciousness. And we also call that the threefold flame. And I'll go even deeper than that, because that threefold flame comes from a source, a white fire source that comes from God itself, that comes from the beloved source itself, at the beginning of the universe, a divine white light. And each one of those white fires within our burning sacred heart, our Christ heart, is lit when the Christ consciousness begins to come, when the fifth dimension begins to come. And what happens is it emanates a rose pink ray. And this is when we connect then to our crystalline hearts, our crystalline cells. We'll talk about that later whenever we're talking about the crystalline heart. I think that's week 6. But I'll also be talking about it later on today when we're talking about crystals. So bear that in mind. It's a long journey from being asleep to waking up, to moving through all 7 astral realms, to lighting the twin flame in your heart, producing the Christ flame, and then beginning to welcome in the fifth dimension, which is the dimension of communication, the throat. It's where the way is open for the spirit worlds, or the mental and spirit worlds, to come right down into the body. And so body and soul merge, body and spirit merge. And this is where your guides really begin to show up, Glenn. This is where your mediumship begins to show up, and your psychic senses really start to develop. And a lot of us are there at the moment. Some of us are beyond that, working now on mastery consciousness. And mastery consciousness is, I guess that's the goal, to become that Christ child that's coming in your heart, that you're connecting with in your heart, to actually merge that with your body and your life and the way that you think, and become that. So that's the goal. I mean, we are, as I said last week, we are that master anyway. We're just remembering how to be it, or we're remembering all the pieces. Each one of those pieces is a member of the whole, and we're remembering the pieces that when we put them all together, we see the Master, we see the Christ child, or the divine creation. Unity consciousness then happens when the last astral world, which is the crown chakra, opens wide. And when the crown opened wide, and this happened actually not that long ago, maybe about 3 years ago, it happened en masse. Certainly for me, it was about 3 years ago. The crown chakra opened wide, then the root chakra opened wide because the crown chakra balances the root chakra, opens wide, and you connect with the soul star seemingly above your head. The soul star, as I talked about last week, is your soul family. That's your wholeness. That's all of the pieces of you together as one. And it looks like soul family. It looks like 7 individual souls, 12 in actual, but it begins to look like 7 first, and then it looks like 12. And Kelly is saying, can you go back a level, develop so far, and then take a step back and then step up again? Or is it like a ladder of progression? It's a good question. I mean, it is like a ladder of progression. As you shift, you're shifting into this awareness, but the awareness comes, Kelly, it comes into your pre-conscious. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, when you say, I know it, but I can't really tell you what it is. It's because it's in your pre-conscious. It's when you're trying to remember a name and you say, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. So the awareness, the shifts that you make come into your pre-conscious, and you get these feelings, and so you can feel the shift, and your life starts to change, and you start to learn the awareness of what's actually happening to you, and then you got to integrate that. So when you don't really know something until you've lived it, then it becomes wisdom. So you've got ignorance, you've got awakening, integration, and wisdom. That's the way I like to put it. It's a cycle, and you've got to, with these shifts, you've got to roll with the punches, and you've got to open. You've got shadow coming out as well as light coming out when your subconscious opens. You've got those two things happening. And you've got a choice which one you're going to act on. So the best thing, in my opinion, is to be very much aware of your shadow side and be compassionate with it and be gentle with it and forgiving with it, and allow it to be. But at the same time, give equal attention to the light and to the fact that that shadow is actually an illusion that you lived through for so long, and you're now letting go of it. So it's like a child waking up in the middle of the night and is scared of the dark. And you're not going to say to the child, oh, don't be ridiculous, there's no such thing as monsters, You're just going to set it on your knee very gently and say, I understand, it's okay. You might even say something like, we'll put on the light and all the monsters will go away. Something like that. So you want to be compassionate with yourself. You don't want to, and you want to be disciplined, but you don't want to chastise yourself. You don't want to say what a lot of people say when they first wake up, is that I have to kill my ego. No. Your ego is a very precious part of yourself that you want to love into submission to you, to your highest mastery self. So you want to make it your friend. You want to understand it. You want to have compassion for it. You want to very gently console it and be its best friend. all the time knowing that you know better, that you now know better, that you now are awake, and that you now don't have to live out of those illusions any longer. So you've got the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder, and it can seem like you're going backwards if you really buy into temptation, and if you're really challenged with the shift, you can maybe have a day where you think, oh God, I'm back to square one, and that can happen, because you're learning these lessons and they're hard. And it's not just really a straight line. You're going around in a loop. The energy, your energy in your energy field, as we said before, is going in like a figure eight. So it's going in a loop. And we're spiraling in with our breath. We're spiraling into the inner self. And then with the out breath, we're expanding out into the universe again. And we will talk about that later, because that's maybe a concept that a lot of you haven't grasped yet. But because of that spiraling nature in and out, and the spiraling around in the figure eight, we go around and around and around in a cycle. So we come back to the same lesson again and again and again. It's like we're coming back to the same point, but we're not actually at that same point on the same level. We're at that same point on a higher level. So you may come around to a point where once again you don't feel good enough, or you don't feel that you're strong enough, and yet you've a lot more wisdom this time. So the parent part of you is wiser and stronger and more capable of saying to the child within, the shadow part of you, do you know what? I understand. It's okay that you're back here again. And just reiterate the truth to it. So you don't really step back. You just come around to the same place, but you will notice that the energy is different. Your light energy, your wisdom will be higher, and the shadowy energy may seem darker, but that's because it's the equal opposite of your light. In the duality, the shadow is always the equal opposite of the light that you see. So the greater the light you know, the greater the shadow you're capable of experiencing. We'll talk about that when we're doing healing. That's very important to know. So yeah, you connect with the soul star. You start to connect then with what we call unity consciousness. That's Christ consciousness. We start to connect with what we call the Christ consciousness grid, which is a grid of ley lines in the atmosphere around the earth itself. Remember I was saying last week that your body really is the earth. All body is one. So our body is the earth. There's no separation. And so that Christ consciousness grid around the earth is the Christ consciousness grid around our energy field as well. What happens to the earth happens to us. And what happens to us happens to the earth. When you wake up, the world wakes up. When you make these shifts, the world makes these shifts. You only think that you see people fast asleep, but that's the shadow of your awakening that you're seeing in the world. So you want to focus on the shifts, focus on the awakening, focus on the light, and yet be a witness to the shadow. Have compassion for it and console it, and so on and so on, like I said before. What's happening with you personally is happening to the humanity as a whole and the earth as a whole. There's no separation. It's like it's like when you suddenly get to know something for the first time. And I always use the idea of Elvis Presley because the whole world knows who Elvis Presley is. But Can you imagine the person that doesn't know who Elvis Presley is? For them, for that person, Elvis Presley doesn't exist, never existed, doesn't know anything about Jailhouse Rock or Hawaii Blues or any of that thing. And yet, when that person first starts to wake up to Elvis Presley, suddenly Elvis is everywhere in the world, is global. And if you think about it, it's the same with you. Before you had your awakening, you never really heard of chakras or everything is energy or spiritual development or anything like that there. But now you're surrounded by it. It's like there's more and more and more people all the time are mirroring this stuff to you. And that's because you're not separated from the outside. So the unity consciousness is very much the awareness then of being connected with everything and how yourself, your inner self is affecting everything and can affect everything. Your 5-dimensional chakras begin to activate when the soul star is open, when the crown is wide open and you're connected to your star. Your 5-dimensional chakras come in, and they are different colors again from the 3-dimensional chakras, from the red and the orange and from those rainbow colors. So you've got 4-dimensional colors, and then you've got 5-dimensional colors. The 5th dimensional crown chakra is of diamond light, like clear diamond light, and the 5th dimensional root chakra is platinum. The solar plexus is a gold with rainbow colors through it. We'll not spend too much time actually talking about the colors. I'll make a diagram and I'll put that into the group tomorrow for you to see. Most of you know that anyway. And it's not that important. It's not that crucial to know for your spiritual or your psychic development. With unity consciousness as well, because you're connecting to the soul group, then your past lives start to show up, and so you may actually connect with many of your past lives. Nobody's asking any questions, so that's a good sign. You may connect with some of your past lives, but that kind of happens if you go seeking it. It may happen in your dreams. It kind of happens if there's a previous lifetime. Maybe it's really important to this lifetime. You can get a shaman like myself to do it, or it can come in your dreams. You say you can journey. I'll show you how to connect with your guides, and you can journey with your guides and maybe ask them to show you previous lifetimes that are important as well. Important because of karma and personality traits that you maybe want to understand. Important to heal the family, which is all about unity consciousness as well. Healing your ancestral family, your biological and your soul ancestry. So healing all that requires past life work, but obviously not necessary to know your past lives. Time begins to fall apart at this stage because, all time is now. Remember I said that everything's this orb, and it's a 0 point that is nothing, that becomes everything. Goes back to being nothing, becomes everything, and this is the movement or the rhythm of consciousness. The single point of nothing, singularity, becoming the duality, which is the universe, coming back to singularity again, and this is the rhythm of our soul, and this is the journey that we're on. It seems that when we connect with everything and bring everything together as one, that the universe that was so many things and linear time and so much space, it seems to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and time is going by so quickly. You lose time, you can shift time, you can skip forwards in time. Some of the psychic phenomena that you can get at this stage is maybe predicting time. That's where maybe prophecy comes in, or where you might have a dream, and the next day you might hear something on the TV or somebody talk to you, and you think, sure, I dreamt about that. That's already happened. Or did that not happen yesterday? Or did that not happen before? It's other than deja vu. It's a feeling of an awareness of something happening for a second time. You already knew that that was going to happen. Just finished the rest on the wheel. Very good, Vicky. Yeah. So when you finish, that's a wee bit of shamanism there, Vicky. Vicky says she just finished the west on the shamanic wheel. When you finish the west, she means she's now coming into a mastery consciousness, coming back to God's self, or coming back to this singularity, and that's where she is. That level of consciousness then vibrates with the divine self, of the higher self. And our crystalline heart, our threefold flame, is burning there in the white fire of our hearts, and it emanates this Christ consciousness. And with Christ consciousness comes creatorship, conscious creatorship. You're all creators anyway. You just didn't know that you were. But now you know you are, and you get to actually be active in your creatorship. So with one breath in and out, and I'll be doing this in a masterclass when this course is over. With one breath in and out, you can heal the entire world, send healing out to the entire world, and transformation to the entire world. If enough of us are doing that together, and there's many doing it together right now, if enough of us do that together, then the world changes, and that's what's happening right now in the world. It's because of people like me that are grouping together and changing the world with every breath, with every conscious breath. The next level of consciousness then, as I said before, is the mastery level of consciousness. That's where you get glimpses of God's self, the singularity, the 0 point. We talk about that as being I am, whereas as opposed to I am that I am. I am that I am means I am this hand, I am those flowers, I'm these trees, I'm that window, I'm you, you're me. I am is the singularity, and it feels like I exist, and yet the universe is not here. I don't see here or whatever. I just know that I exist. Or you get this feeling of existence, and yet nothing is happening. There's no time. It's a little bit like being in the room. In that level of consciousness, then you really are living as a conscious creator. And your consciousness connects beyond the fifth dimensional consciousness and into the sixth dimensional conscious, seventh dimensional, and right on through. You can even go right up to 10 and 11 dimensional consciousness. At the moment, I connect with 10 dimensional consciousness, the 10th dimension. The 10 and 11 are the same. So if you connect with 10, you're connecting with 11. Those are mastery consciousness. So my lessons now are about mastery consciousness. And this is where millions of people around the world are at right now. But it began with 144,000 souls that reached that level of consciousness and then there was mass awakening around the world. And that only happened a few years ago. Levels of trance then, when we talk about ego consciousness, then when we talk about levels of trance, we're talking about daydreams. But when we talk about spiritual consciousness, that process of awakening up through the chakras, the bodily chakras, from root to crown, levels of trance then can get a bit deeper. So you start to meditate, you start to have visions, hear things, connect with your psychic senses, and very sort of light trance. You can journey and doing your meditations and stuff like that. Connect with the spirits, and this happens very, very easily as you begin to, especially if you're a medium like me, then once you have your awakening, the spirit world is going to start coming. But most people, I don't really know anybody that is on a spiritual journey and hasn't had some degree of communication from spirit or awareness of spirit. It's one of the most natural things about you, and yes, it's a gift. It's a gift, but it's a natural gift that everybody has. But how you connect to spirit can be different. I have all 6 psychic senses. Some people have 1. Some people might have 2 or 3. Shamans generally have them all. The only place to go from mastery consciousness is through connecting to the singularity, through connecting to I am consciousness. Then you're connecting with God, self, or whatever. And the only place to go from there is basically the disappearance of the mirror itself. So you're back to singularity. There is no mirror. There is no universe. There is no other. There's no body. There is just I am. And so we talk about the universe disappearing. So that diagram is in week 1 and week 2 albums in the media within the group. So you can have a look at that at your leisure. Does anybody want to ask any questions about that before we move on towards the psychic senses? I think I'm seeing all the comments here. No one. Great. That tells me I'm doing a good job. Orla, what is unintentional out of body projection? Well, I suppose unintentional means that you weren't consciously trying to do it. Is that what you mean, Orla? You're not consciously trying to come out of body, but this is something that happens when you begin to wake up, especially if you're extremely light, like I was. If you're a shaman and out of body experience is second nature to a shaman, you can't. And again, everybody really is a shaman, you know. So I like to talk with shamanism training, revealing the shaman within. Not kind of, do you want to be a shaman, but revealing the shaman that's already within you. So some people are born into this world to be a shaman again, and very obviously, Orla, if you've had spontaneous out of body experiences, then you're a shaman. It's like astral projection, which we'll be talking about later on, where if the energy becomes so light and you shift in that moment into up through your chakras and into a higher consciousness, then there is a tendency for your awareness to leave the body and come out into the energy field, and it feels like you're outside of your body. Some people feel themselves drifting up to the ceiling. I remember when I came back from hospital in 2002, and the healer that was working with me, his name is Matthew, lovely man. I was coming out of my body, and I said to him, "Oh my God, I'm floating up to the ceiling here," and I was scared. And he said to me, "Come to me," and so somehow I knew how to come to him, and I felt like I was in body again for a while. I think it was about half an hour or something like that. I was in body, but I wasn't in my body. I was in his body. And I was in his body when he was a child. So I was experiencing him as a child, finding a little bird that had broken its wing, putting it into his box. I saw his father talking to him. I heard him talking. Because I was Matthew and I was a child. And when I come back to being me, to being Eliza, and I told Matthew what I experienced, he corroborated that that was a real experience of his, and that's what his father looked like, and that really happened, and that's how it went down. So it was kind of proof to me that, that I was a shaman, that the soul is not contained within the body, that it can travel. And yes, Orla, it travels very easily, especially if you get a bit high. So people that have taken plant medicines, people that have taken mind-altering drugs, they have a tendency to have an out-of-body experience, like, hey man, experience. And it's probably more advisable to stay in your body. You can have an out of body experience when you're in shock. When you're in shock, I don't know if any of you have experienced a strong shock in their lives where you get a feeling like this isn't happening. It feels like it's not happening. It's like you're outside of yourself looking in on the experience. And it feels a little bit like that, where you could maybe see yourself sitting somewhere and you're watching yourself, So it can be scary when you're not used to it, but we'll talk about that again when we're talking about astral projection. But yeah, it can happen. And it can happen unintentionally if you take an energy hike, Orla. Yeah, spontaneously. That's what's happening with you, darling. I mean, there's always a reason for everything that's happening with you, and it's most likely because your soul needs to have that experience, maybe to wake up to the fact that you're a shaman. Maybe it's as simple as that. But for comfort, it is very advisable to keep yourself grounded as much as you possibly can. Catherine is asking, I feel I've experienced lots of different elements of this. It's an ongoing process, and I have to remind myself when I'm busy that it takes time to integrate and ground. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it takes time to integrate everything that you're shifting into. And then when you do integrate it, then it becomes wisdom. And then it's your life. Then that's who you are. Then that's the way your life is. You're never the same again. And when you feel that it's going very slow, if you look back to 5 years and look to yourself 5 years ago, there's the proof. You're not the same person. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's quickly move on because an hour's gone past, and as usual, so as I say, it's hard to fit everything into 12 hours. We might have to go to a seventh class, a 7th week, but I'm going to try and do the best that I can. And if I don't get everything done tonight, then we'll start again next week. Okay. So the psychic senses, there's 6 of them. There's really 5, but 2 of them are kind of the same thing. They're the same as your physical senses, your sense of sight, your sense of hearing, touch, taste, and smell. All of those physical senses are working through your brain, through your sensory nerves, and so are your psychic senses. It's like you have, if you take that part of your brain that works with the senses, it works not only with giving a feedback to that's coming from the sensory nerves, giving a feedback to your awareness, but also it gives another feedback from the subconscious light that you had buried. So you can use your physical your senses to skip into your psychic senses. They're not separate, just in the same way as your spirit and your body are not separate, the same way as light and dark aren't separate. Your physical senses and your psychic senses are not separate. So you use your physical senses to move into your psychic senses. It isn't like you're suddenly going to have this magic ability to use a sense that you never had any before. You always had them. You always had the psychic senses. You just maybe your physical senses were a little bit focused on too much, or there's a wee bit of sleepiness going on there. But when you start to wake up, then they shift over into your psychic senses. And so the two things are happening at the same time. So you've got your sight, and then that gives way over to your inner sight or your clairvoyance. A lot of people are clairvoyant. A lot of people can use their imagination. I mean, if I said to you now to imagine a banana in your mind, you've got it like that. So you're able to use your imagination. You're able to develop your clairvoyance, and that's all that clairvoyance is. Using your imagination. Sometimes the imagination, or what you imagine, say, let's say, for example, the banana, you can imagine the banana, consciously say, I'm going to imagine a banana, and that's fine because you've sent a signal from your brain to the part of your mind that is visual, and it's showing you a banana. But with psychic senses, clairvoyance happens spontaneously. You can use your imagination to get to the spontaneous visions. Okay, so you've got sight is the same as your clairvoyance, and you've got consciously using your imagination is no different from, it's not separated from spontaneous vision. It just depends what direction or what feed from the brain the idea of banana is coming from. Okay, so there's this to and froing from your sensory nerves, in this case your visual nerve, to your brain that remembers what a banana looks like and knows what a banana looks like. There's little constructs in your brain that builds up the sight of a banana, the form of a banana, and no, I was going to say something, but I won't go there. I'll leave that till later on because it's a very advanced idea of manifestation. But yeah, so use your physical senses and use your imagination to connect with spontaneous vision. Just in the same way as you can imagine a banana, then you can also receive something spontaneously. So if you go on a journey and set the intention beforehand, and you say, okay, I'm going on a journey, then you'll see a whole heap of bananas spontaneously. If you go on a journey to say, I want to connect with the spirit guide, all at once, but you'll see parts of your spirit guide, or you'll see a face, or you'll see a piece of clothing, or you'll see a place or something like that there. So those spontaneous visions are not something that is given to the great mystics only. Everybody has this. It's part and parcel of your visual sense. It just depends um, how much you actually physically relax. And with all the psychic senses, relaxation is very important. The only thing that stops us from receiving psychically is physical tension. Physical tension in your optic nerves, physical tension in your body, physical tension in your auditory nerves. There's more tension in your body than you think. When we try to relax and we relax the muscles in our arms and legs and our shoulders and stuff like that, that's only the beginning of relaxation, because even your nervous system can be in a state of tension. And so when you practice meditation and relaxing, that tension very, very gently goes, very, very gradually is going. And so then you can spontaneously receive psychically. So you're not using anything that wasn't already there with you. You were just too tense to use it. So you've got your hearing, and then that relates to your clairaudience. You've got your sense of touch, and that relates to your clairsentience. Being aware of or feeling atmosphere and scanning with your hands. Remember last week when we got the ball of energy? That's using clairsentience, psychic touch. You could actually feel it with your hand chakras. But you can feel energy around people. When we talk about psychometry as well, we'll be talking about this. But you can feel energy, for example, in this crystal. You can feel the energy of it. A glass of water, you can feel the energy. You can feel the energy of wood, grass, anything living. You can even feel energy around something that's not living, like these glasses. Someone that picked up these glasses other than me might feel this energy and pick something up about me, maybe have a feeling or a sense of of me. So that's clairsentience. Then there's clairscent, which is clear smelling. And again, you use your smelling for this. Here in the top of the nose, in the bridge of the nose, there's all of these little receptors that receive smells, and those they produce certain chemicals, and those chemicals then are largely responsible to how your body reacts to that stimulus, and how your body tells the nervous system how to be. So happy, sad, afraid, relaxed, on edge, activated, whatever, refreshed, maybe the smell of a lemon. It triggers off a little chemical here, and then the brain then sends a response to that, and the body starts to feel refreshed and clean, and alive, like lemon would do to you, sort of thing. Maybe lavender. The body, then the nervous system starts to slow down, and so all of that happens because of clairscent. And to get to know your clairscent, which is then the signal coming back down the nose instead of going up from the outside, you want the signal coming from the inside. Then if I feel relaxed, then perhaps I smell lavender, and it may not even be here, but I smell lavender because I feel relaxed. Or I smell lavender because my aunt spirit is around and she wore lavender perfume. Parma Violet. Do you remember that Parma Violet lavender perfume? Yeah. So again, the physical sense is related to, and you can't really separate it from your psychic senses. Clairseverance is the last one. That's is tasting. So if I said to all of you, imagine you're eating a lemon, you can taste that, or an orange, you can taste it, salt, you can taste it. You already know these things, which tells me that you're very capable of experiencing clairseverance. You're very capable. If the imagination's able to experience it, the signal is very capable of coming from within instead of without. Okay. Now let's go through all of these senses, and what I want to do is I want to give you a quick wee exercise that you could start to practice to develop each one of these senses. And as I said before, you may not have them all. You may only have one. I think maybe clairaudience is the least common, hearing spirit, but there is a thing called claircognizance too, and that is not really a sense as such, but it means clear knowing. It's your intuition. It's just something, and I think it's because your brain relates certain things from previous lifetimes to a stimulus in this world. So if you see something like a marching band on the 12th of July in Northern Ireland, you see a marching band, you might your past life memory, your pre-conscious memory of previous lifetimes might actually produce something that you associate with a marching band. And so you get an awareness, a knowing about this particular marching band or about something that's about to happen. And it's you can't really take in your own intentions and strength of thought out of that in the moment when you see a marching band and you have this feeling, oh, I know something, and then because of that previous lifetime, because it was a real experience, then your faith in that knowing is very strong. That is the way it is. Actually, that is the way it was. But you say, that is the way it is. I know this. And because you have such strength of knowing it, then it materializes. And then you say, see, I told you I knew it. Told you that's the way it was. People that make predictions all the time are doing it like that. And it's their sense of strength of memory that quite possibly came from the past life that actually creates that manifestation right now, what they think they know. So let's begin with clairaudience. And last week, at the end of last week, I gave you that wee exercise where you just listen. Remember, maybe go out into nature and just focus on the sounds and don't stay on any sound in particular. Just very, very quickly, like every second, just go from one ear to the next and receive the sound as it comes in and keep shifting, because there'll be plenty of different sounds. Keep shifting back around them. And what will happen after a few minutes, quite possibly say about 10, at least 10 minutes, then you'll suddenly start to hear something. And it may sound like your own voice, or it may be a spirit's voice. It could be a spirit guide, or it could be a spirit coming through your mediumship, or it could be the voice of your own intuition, so it'll sound like your voice. That's fine, Julie. I'll see you later, darling. So that's the clairaudience. Clairvoyance. There's a couple of things you can do with clairvoyance. I meant to draw a diagram and I forgot, but it's very simple, so I'll just describe it to you. One of the things that I used to do, and I still find it very, very powerful when I'm teaching other people, is get yourself a sheet of paper, of just blank A4 paper, and the size of a penny, draw a blue dot, a bright blue dot, maybe the size of a penny in the center of the page. And what you want to do then is you want to focus your gaze on the blue dot and relax your gaze. So just, it's almost like you're looking at the blue dot, but you're feeling like you're nearly going to fall asleep. So you're kind of looking at it, but very, very lazily. And after a while, you'll see an energy field. Like there's an energy field around the blue dot, and you'll see this line that it's like a bigger circle that's behind the blue dot, and it's white. And you'll see it moving about like this, and the blue dot's in the center, and this circle's moving about around it. And you keep going, keep going, keep going. Try not to take your eyes off the blue dot, and you'll see the circle starts to move across the page even. Keep your eyes on the blue dot at all time. And what that's doing is it's training your third eye to open up your clairvoyance. Alternatively, you could gaze at the sun or gaze at a candle. Now, if you're gazing at the sun, then clearly you wear sunglasses, or you don't look directly at the sun, but maybe past the sun and keep your eyes almost closed, or do it, but even better, do it sunrise or dusk, when the sun's not so sore in your eyes. You can use a candle, gaze at a candle flame, and again the candle flame's going to flicker, and you'll see the flame as if it's moving. You might see three flames, and the flame will move about. So keep focused as you can the scent, which you think is the central flame. There'll be like three flames there, and just keep a focus on that. And after a while, you'll just drift into what feels like a daydream, and you'll start to see a dream, and that's a spontaneous vision, and you just flow with it. And the best thing you can do is to flow with it, not to stop and say, oh, I've just seen something, what was it I just seen, and try to figure it out in your head what it was that you just saw. Because then you're in your ego, then you're in your monkey mind, your critical mind, and not your intuitive mind. You want to see what you see and just let it pass, let it flow, like the hearing thing, where you see it and you just keep moving on to the next part of the experience. The general rule is if you see something, give it 3 seconds, no more than 3 seconds. If you give it more than 3 seconds, then you're kind of you're back into your radical mind, which is kind of your critical mind, I call it, which is kind of that monkey mind, the ego mind, the sleeping mind. So yeah, spend 20 minutes or so looking at a case and a candle, or do some sun gazing, or maybe practice watching, looking for energy fields around objects, trees, flowers. Living things are best. Auras around people. You could do that there. And after a while, you will find that you just very gradually, and then you start to, it's like you're daydreaming. And after a while of doing that, of practicing that, your clairvoyance will become so sharp that all you have to do is just ask for Spirit to show you what they need to show you, and you'll just see it. You'll see it. And the best thing to do is not to question it. I would also advise you to make a practice of writing things down. So when you're doing these exercises, start to write down the things that you see, the things that you hear, the things that come spontaneously, even if they seem crazy. And when we're doing automatic writing later as well, it's a similar thing. You want to not judge what you're doing, not judge what you get, but just put it all down there and know that it is little intuitive insights that are coming to you, and sooner or later they'll start to make a picture. Oh, excuse me. So, um, clairaudience, clairvoyance, and clairsentience. It's feeling. Do you remember the feeling the energy feels? So you can do that for clairsentience, clairscent. I would imagine with clairscent, just imagine you're smelling lemon, and then imagine that you're smelling tar, and then imagine strong smells, yeah, and then imagine that you're smelling roses, and then imagine that you're smelling grass, imagine that you're smelling mud, anything with a seaweed, anything with a very vivid smell, that oranges that you can smell right now. Just keep changing the smells, and relax, and remember always to physically relax, because if you're not physically relaxed, then your nervous system is not going to start to relax. So physically relaxed, and just enjoy all of these different imaginary smells, and eventually you'll start to smell something, and go, oh, what's that smell? And it's not what you wanted to smell, it's not what you told yourself you're going to smell, but you're smelling something else. Just know that that smell is a spiritual smell. It's a psychic smell, and it's come from within. It's come from your intuition. So either from a spirit, or from your intuition, or um, your spirit guide, or whoever, whatever. Clairsentience is the same then. Taste. So taste lemon, taste salt, taste oranges, taste chocolate, taste wine, and do the same thing again. So I wouldn't advise that you do all of these exercises in the one night. Just say take a week where you're spending 10 minutes or 20 minutes every evening working on your clairaudience, and then the next evening you're working on your clairvoyance. And I mean, after the first few tries, or after the first try with each of them, you'll pretty quickly ascertain which of those clear senses that you're able to develop, and then focus on that sense, maybe one or two, and leave the rest of them then, because they will come. They'll come when you least expect it. But focus on your strengths first. Okay, so moving quickly on then, we should be okay for time. I want to talk about sacred space and psychic protection and meditation. They all kind of work together. As you meditate, as you relax, you go into a meditative state, and then that allows your psychic senses to come. And meditation is one of the best ways to relax. I mean, physical relaxation, yes, but meditation takes physical relaxation to another level, and it results in your nervous system beginning to relax. So meditation is where you actually start to get the psychic senses coming, which is why I say to you, meditate on a smell or a taste or a sight or sounds for about 10 minutes, and then after that you find that your intuition will just slip through. It's like you open a door between between your physical hearing and your clairaudience, and you just slip through. Eliza, can you produce a wee exercise, a homework sheet for us every week? I could certainly try to do that. If you want to even take notes now, But yeah, tell you what, Kelly, I'll summarize when I finish tonight, and I'll say, look, this is what you want to be doing for next week. You want to be doing this, 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 this. I don't want to give you too much to do. Last week, hopefully, you were doing that clairaudient exercise. But I don't want to give you too many things to do. But yeah, I will. I put up a video today for connecting with your spirit guide. Did you see that? And I'll do that throughout the week. Just post on the group wall anything that I think is going to be of value to you. So yeah, keep checking the group during the week. Or better still, maybe go on the group and click get notifications. So yeah, meditation then, many of you guys are already meditating for many years, I'm sure. It's a form of relaxation. You can meditate on a flame. Yeah, Colette, you're writing everything down, bless you. Yeah, okay. You can also re-watch the video, and maybe just, flick over to different parts. Oh, here, I want to go to the part where she was talking about meditation, and then, you can always do that then, because the videos are always going to be here. So yeah, there's different ways to meditate, and there's no really right way to meditate, but there is a right way for you, and you're going to be different than everybody else. Some people like to follow their breathing, so they follow the cycle of breath in and out, and that can be very meditative. Some people like to meditate to the sound of flowing water. Some people like to meditate to the sound of a fire. Some people like to meditate to music and kind of drift off into a nice wee dream where they're seeing beautiful colours. Colette, I know. Colette was writing everything down. Your hand was sore, so it was, bless her. Yeah, some people like to go on a wee journey. And if you're anyway shamanic at all, that's what you'll do. If you're anyway clairvoyant at all, that's what you'll do. You'll go on a wee journey and you'll see things. So if that's the way that you are, and you have a great imagination, you're able to see things easily on a journey, and you feel that you want to start meditating, or you have problems meditating, then a guided meditation is best for you. Do a guided meditation. I did guided meditations for a long time, and I was also very blessed that I used to just go off on a spontaneous journey where Black Elk used to take me, and we used to go off on a spontaneous journey through the cosmos and vortices, and finding pieces of myself that was way out there. I was so scattered. So I had to do that cosmic journey and find all those pieces of myself and bring it back. So for many years I was doing a sort of a guided journey with Black Elk as the guide. And then I produced quite a lot of meditations that I've only really just begun to put into video form. But there's many guided meditations out there, especially on YouTube. You just search guided meditation, you'll find one, and just keep looking until you find one that you really like. I would recommend a guy called Moochie. His name is spelled, you may get your pen out again, Colette. His name is spelled Mooji, Moochie. And he has a guide. So if you put search in your YouTube search bar, Moochie guided meditation, and you'll get a fantastic meditation that he'll guide you right into the deep silence within yourself, instead of taking you outside of yourself, where like Kelly, then you've got a tendency to go out of your body and feel afraid, So Many ways of meditating. Yeah, Moochie's great. Many ways of meditating, guided meditation, following your breath, listening to music, walking a labyrinth walking, or walking in a spiral into a circle and then out again, is a meditative way as well of meditation. um, Sound, using your own voice as you walk along, is a meditative way. Walking on grass can be a meditation. And you will find that, like most light workers nowadays that have been meditating for years and years and years, they don't meditate any longer. They don't sit down to meditate any longer because their waking day is a meditation. They're in a almost like a meditative state all the time, where they're connected to their psychic senses all the time. And so a lot of people in my position will speak about their walking, living meditation every day. So meditation is kind of, it's a way of relaxing, and then it becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of living, a way of being. And it's a way of setting up a sacred space in your energy field. So as you meditate and as you physically relax and your nervous system physically relax, then you begin to uh, not get so focused on the physical world. So the same as saying you're not so much focused on the physical senses, then you start to see the psychic senses. So when you meditate and you completely relaxed, you get not so much focused on the physical world. You start to focus on the etheric world, which is the energy field, and through into spiritual worlds. And these worlds, as they seem to go out into your energy field. So of course the closest one to you is the physical body, the physical world, and then you've got this etheric body, which is kind of like a your energy field, and then you've got your aura, which contains the the astral realms and mental realms and spiritual realms, and these realms that go out into your medicine, your energy field from your body, are going inwards as well to the I am consciousness, and they're going outwards to the universal consciousness, which mirrors I am consciousness. Um, and they are also mirroring your levels of astral chakras, so that your crown chakra corresponds with this universal consciousness. Remember, I said that when the crown opens, then you connect with the universe. So it feels then that the universe is out here, and then you've got mental realm, which is here, and that's a little bit in closer to your body. And then you've got these watery realms, astral realms, which is through the throat and down, come closer to your emotional realms, closer to your body still. And then you've got your root chakra, which is that etheric layer, energy field around your body, that small energy field that you see, that little line that you see whenever you move your hands or you see around an object, or that it's around your body as well. That's your energy line. That's, if you wanted to uh, to view a person's energy field, you can find out what kind of health they're in, what kind of shape they're in. Is their energy expanded and bright, or is it dull and in close to the body, or can you hardly see it at all? Incidentally, that energy field, which we call the mind energy, I believe, is that which is depicted in books and that as being a halo. The Christ energy, the golden energy that's around the crown chakra. So when the Christ is born, the King is born, and then this crown, you see this crown opening up, and it's like a halo. It's your energy field. It's your mind energy expanding out from your mind, with that golden frequency of Christ energy, Christ frequency. It looks like a gold color. When we're talking about sound later, we'll talk about how sound corresponds to color, corresponds to frequency. That's later on. So sacred space, creating a sacred space in your energy field, then you want to create a sacred space outside of your energy field. So, what you do to yourself, you do is happening in your world, and what happens in your world happens to yourself. So if you want to set an energy for yourself that, this is a lovely place for me to relax in, then, set aside a room in your house if you can. If not, then a space in that room, or maybe an altar or something like that, where you have we have your crystals, you have maybe nice candles, incense, anything that helps you to physically relax, your spiritual music. And always really best when you're setting up any kind of space is to think of circles, to think of that shape. So if you can set up a space where everything that um helps you to relax and helps you to feel spiritual and good about yourself, where it's all around you and not so much in front of you or beside you, but around you. So this is why when you go to spiritual workshops and that, people tend to sit in a circle. Certainly, any workshops that I've had, I've always tried to get people to sit in a circle. When I was in Greece a couple of years ago, the setup of the room and the way that the person who hosted the workshops, she wanted me to sit at the top of the room, and everybody was sitting down, and I was sitting on a chair, and everybody was sitting on the floor in front of me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't like that. So I got down onto the floor and sat with them and got them all to sit in a circle. It's much, much better energy when you create circles. So yeah, have your things around you. That's the area of the house, that's your space. That's your sacred space to go and meditate and sit and meditate. Some people even like to. I mean, I remember a shaman that came to my cabin, my sacred space, one time years and years ago, and she had a pair of fluffy purple fluffy socks, and she says, those are my meditation socks. Okay, Kelly, I'll give you the name of the person who organised that workshop. Kelly's just asking me about Greece and workshops in Greece. Please remind me. Um, yeah, she had a pair of fluffy socks, purple socks, and she says to me, when I go to meditate, I have to wear these fluffy socks because once I put those purple socks on, I'm in my meditative state. I know that I'm going to relax, that it's going to work. If I don't have the socks, then she felt like she would be struggling. And I totally understand. Excuse me, I understand what she means, because um, whenever I first began to do photon light therapy, it's a healing modality that I was received from the spirit world, and I do that now for whoever needs it. But when I first started to do that was maybe 6 years ago. Uh, the spirit advised me that I played some solfeggio rhythms, music, to get my consciousness into the right state level of trance. And after a while, once I put that solfeggio music on, I was right there. I put the music on, then I was ready. I was right there to do that work, because I associated the level of trance that I went into with that music. So as soon as I heard the music, I straight away went into that level of trance that was necessary to do that work. So creating a sacred space is all about your comfort, and it's all about making it easier for yourself to feel that you can relax and connect to spirit and do the work that you have to do. And of course, you do need to be protected in that, especially if you're just starting off with psychic development, practicing maybe healing for others and doing any kind of light work at all. You will need to practice psychic protection when you first wake up, especially, but even later on, you'll need to practice psychic protection. And there are various ways that you can do that. But for me now, the only protection that is needed is to know that I am light, I am consciousness, and everything else is a mirror of that consciousness. So if everything is off me, of my consciousness, then nothing can harm my consciousness. Okay. So I kind of, it's a mastery level of not even psychic protection, because at this level there's no need for psychic protection, because what am I protecting myself from? Myself. I was working in Belfast with my Padre Pio clinic, in which it was 3 years in which Padre Pio merged with my energy field in order to bring healing to people. And I had a moment where I had, I call it feedback, where it was a bit of difficulty in merging, and my body started to jerk at the solar plexus, and I had kind of like that possessed by demons type of thing going on. And I was on the floor, and I was bumping up and tapping down on the floor, and the host of the evening shouted, "Leave her alone, everybody, she's fighting it." And I thought, whoa, she didn't realize that I wasn't fighting anybody, that what she felt that maybe was a bad spirit was just a shadowy piece of myself that was reacting, that was frightened. And the voice of Padre Pio came to me and said, who do you think you're fighting? And I realized myself, and in that moment of realizing it, it stopped, and I calmed, and everything was well. There was no danger, there was no threat, there was no psychic attack. It was just I am me and spirit. And so it was fine. So that's the level of psychic protection, without even, you don't need psychic protection, but that's the level of protection that you're geared towards, that's your goal. You begin with things such as the white light meditation, where you bring the white light through the crown and imagine the white light filling your energy field down through your body, filling your energy field, and then emanating out, getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and going out and out and out until it fills the entire universe. If the white light of your soul is encompassing the entire universe, then there is nothing that will be against you. Nothing. But you see, I wrote that white light meditation in the group post today. So if you didn't get that, go through the posts later on and see that meditation, see that wee exercise of bringing the white light in. And there's an affirmation with that. I am of the great white light. Yes, nothing that is not of the white light can enter my energy field. Because, even though everything is of the white light, everything is of God, not everything acts like that. And not everything has the intentions of God. So if a being with nasty intentions were to project their thoughts into your energy field, then that can harm you. It can drain you. And you get that thing that people talk about, energy vampires. It's kind of a bit of a scary word, but that's energy drainers. People that drain your energy. That can happen. Things that drain your energy can happen if you don't set up your psychic protection. So white light all around you, right through to the ground, fantastic psychic protection. But also, you can use sage to smudge your energy field with the smoke, put it all around your energy field, and that'll clean your energy field. Or is asking, do you do that white light visualization often? Do it every day. Do it every day, guys. I do that every day without fail. Maybe sometimes several times a day. What I also do is when I'm standing, I'll just realize that maybe I'm not so grounded, and I'll feel that I'm a wee bit in my head, or I'm worrying, or some silly thing like that, and I'll just physically bring my energy down with white light right down through my body into the root chakra, down my legs, and right down into the center of the earth. And in that way, I am, like grounded strong from the cosmos to the center of the earth, and nothing's shaking that oak tree. Nothing will shake it. It can move. It's not going to topple, and nothing can affect it. So yeah, use rituals. You can use things like mirrors. You hold a mirror against your solar plexus. So, for example, say that someone's setting you bad vibes, or you go into an area where there are bad vibes. Then imagine you've got a mirror and you're holding it in front of your solar plexus, and the mirror's pointing out. So any vibes that hit your solar go out. You can do the same with your heart. If someone's really getting on your case and hurting you and hurting your heart, then have that mirror in front of your heart and bounce their vibes right back at them. I'll tell you one of the most effective manner of cutting an energy vampire, or an energy drainer, or someone that is trying to harm you in some way, down to their knees, and it leaves them feeling their own vibes instead of giving them to you. There are people that like to put their shit onto you, and project their shit onto you, and I'm sure you know what I mean. Best thing to do there is the mirror. Imagine the mirror, but also silence. If someone says something to you and they're projecting shit towards you, say nothing. Don't even try to defend yourself, because what is defending is the ego, because the spirit, the soul, does not need defense. I am everything. I am all that is. Everything in the universe is my creation, my child. It's not going to harm me. It's a piece of my consciousness that I'm going to pull back to myself, into I am consciousness. But if you feel that projection coming from someone, and you're not quite grounded in that I am consciousness, so you can't very well detach yourself emotionally from what that person's saying, then don't say anything at all. Because if you defend yourself, that's your ego, and that's doing nothing but buying into the drama. So the best thing you can do is don't give any energy to it. Be quiet. It might not be easy, but be quiet, And that person's left feeling their own vibes as they bounce back with the mirror. They feel their own vibes. And I remember many's a time, because I had a great teacher for this. One of my friends who's extremely conscious, and she uses that silent thing. Very, very often used it. And years ago, if I had been going a little bit into my drama or a little bit needy or whatever, and she would go quiet, then I would feel my own energy. I felt it. It doesn't feel good. But I was a big enough person to own up and say, "Whoa, that's my shit there." Listen to myself, and then you see you're in a position then to change. Some people will project how they feel about that silence onto you and go away and say, "Oh, she's a bitch." You're better off without them anyway. If that's how they think about you, then let them go. But this is about you maturing yourself in your ability to detach your emotions from other people's shit, to detach your energy from other people's shit. So that's a journey in itself. Okay, let's move on to crystals. We've only got 15 minutes, so I think we probably will be taking this up again next week. Crystals now, I have put a photograph in the album for this week, for week 2, just with the 7 basic chakras in the body, from the crown to the root, and the colours that, yeah, great. The colours that they correspond to. The general rule is whatever color the chakra is, the 3-dimensional chakra, so the root is red, then that's the kind of crystal that you go for. Dark colors, maybe red, bloodstone, hematite, obsidian, colors like that there, those are the kind of crystals that will relate to your root chakra. And you want to get yourself a set of what's called chakra stones. So you've got a basic set of 7 to work with. There's many different ones that you can use. For example, say for the root, I think obsidian or hematite are the most common ones for the root to use. If you were to go online, anybody that hasn't got any crystals, and just Google chakra stones, then you'll find a lot of sellers selling a group of 7 chakra stones. So you can do, or you can get them all individually. I'll put up a list of the ones that I recommend for the base chakra. Definitely obsidian. Obsidian's great for clearing your root chakra, and hematite is great for grounding your root chakra. Hematite's like a silver color, like a mirror almost. For the sacral is orange, and so cornelian is a really good stone for the sacral. It's called the healer stone. Or cornelian is a great healing stone. The solar plexus, you want to go for yellows. Tiger's eye that's sort of a creamy goldy yellow color, and it's got brown lines through it. It's called tiger's eye, and that's a great one for the solar plexus. Great basic chakra stone for balancing your solar plexus. But you can also use any yellow stone. You can use gold, fool's gold. You can use citrons. The heart, use green or pink. You can use aventurine, which is a lovely green one, or you can use pink quartz, is very popular for the heart. So either of those two, I think, for the heart. For the throat, then turquoise is the most popular for the throat. It's my favorite for the throat. or sodalite, which is a kind of a nice blue, strong sort of sky blue color. Blue agate, which is a paler sort of Mother Mary blue, you know. All of those are great for the throat, but as long as it's a light blue, it's fine for the throat. Third eye, you want to go into the darker blues, such as lapis lazuli, labradorite with beautiful rainbow colors through it. Sodalite you could also use for the third eye. And then for the crown, you want to use a quartz such as clear quartz or amethyst. Amethyst is very popular for the crown because it's that violet color and it's a clear quartz. Clear quartz is, as I say, that's the color of the fifth dimensional crown chakra. It's a clear diamond quartz light. And so clear quartz is great for the crown chakra, or another quartz which is amethyst. Amethyst is a quartz. This is a quartz, and it's called amethyst. It's that beautiful violet color that corresponds to the crown chakra. Now, you could also just use one crystal for everything, and later on in week 6, when we're talking about the crystalline heart, we'll talk about that one crystal. For me, that crystal's the ruby. So I very often wear a ruby around my neck, and you can see the two road symbol that I have here. I don't know if you guys can see that. That little stone in the center is a ruby. So I'm constantly wearing a ruby, and this symbol that I use, it was given to me by Black Elk. This symbol is actually a representation of the universal being, or the mastery self, with the rose frequency that emanates out of that white fire inside the heart. The rose frequency that emanates out. So ruby is really corresponds to that rose frequency of my heart. But it might not necessarily be ruby, but when we get to, say, week 6, when we're talking about the crystalline heart, we'll talk about that one crystal that really is the crystal that you want to use. But when you're working with healing, even if you just want to work with your psychic development or your own spiritual development, a nice array of crystals, particularly those 7 chakra stones, are great to have. You can even maybe get yourself a wee book on crystal healing, and it'll go through different kinds of crystals and gemstones and that, and you can find the qualities of each stone, start to use them for your healing with yourself and with other people, use them for balancing your energies. I mean, one very, very simple exercise is to say, for example, the amethyst. Say I use my ruby here against my higher heart, but say you have an amethyst, or you have a piece of quartz, clear quartz, or you have a carnelian, or a rose quartz, or something like that. Rose quartz is beautiful. Hold the crystal in your left hand, or both hands even, and put it against your heart. And do that exercise. Say, for example, you bring the white light down in and through, and what happens is, as that white light merges into your energy field, then the crystal, it magnifies it. But crystals, of course, they're not carrying a shadow self. They don't have a shadow self like we are. They work in singularity, they don't work in duality. So as long as they're cleaned and cleared, because they will absorb negative energies as well as positive energies, as long as they're clean and cleared, then you can hold the crystal to your heart. I wouldn't recommend holding a big one like this, but maybe a small tumble stone or something, and holding it to your heart, and it will magnify your energy field. Now, here's where different crystals come in. So for example, if you use a amethyst like that one, and you magnify your energy field through that crystal so that the emanations that's going out into the universe are magnified through the amethyst crystal, then what you're doing is you're sending out emanations that are off the crown chakra consciousness. Okay. And the violet flame in particular, with the purple color, that's a flame of transformation. Remember I said that the crown chakra balances the root chakra, that it's like this is the mirror of this, they correspond. Well, if you can imagine that beautiful blue of the sky, or the blue of the spirit blue, which is, they say the color of God is blue, with the color of the earth, which is said to be red, then you get violet. And when the sky and the earth are merged, or when the spirit and the body are merged, then all shadow falls away and everything transforms into light consciousness. So that's how transformation actually happens. Great way to send someone healing is to use an amethyst stone and project the white light, and your intentions of their well-being through that amethyst out to the universe, out towards them, and it'll transform their soul. But you can use rose quartz for heart healing. You can use maybe a piece of hematite to ground the person, to help them feel grounded. You can maybe use carnelian for healing the body, and maybe there's something in their body that needs healing their body, healing their womb. You can use a piece of turquoise to heal their throat chakra, to heal their voice. So there's lots of, whatever the quality of the crystal, that's the quality that you're magnifying out with the white light. So it's going through the crystal and it magnifies it out according to that quality. You need to clean your crystals. You need to keep them clean, and you need to keep them charged. We've got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to move quickly on. You can, water is the best way to clean them. You can run them under the tap if you like, but running water, the sea, a stream, a waterfall, things like that is best, or maybe just some nice spring water, and tumble it over them, over the crystal. So wash them regularly, because they do pick up negative energy. All crystals will absorb energy, especially quartz. So wash them regularly, and you can charge them with the moonlight, or charge them with the sun. You can even charge them with a bigger crystal. So say, for example, this crystal, if it's clean, you can take the smaller crystals, your chakra stones, for example, and put them on it overnight, and it'll clean the crystals and it'll charge them, and then you just need to put this under the water the next day. You can ask the archangels to clean them. Thank you too, Linda. So yeah, we're coming to time. I'm going to start off next week by talking about energy grids and connecting with your spirit guides, and then we'll move on to week 3. And no bolt of lightning tonight, thank goodness. So the power's fine. Thanks everybody for being here tonight, and I will thank you, Catherine, and I will I'll write a few notes up tonight about what some of those psychic senses development exercises you can do, and I've also got to I've got a diagram to put up tomorrow as well. Really enjoyed tonight's session. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you everybody for being here. I must say I'm loving this. I feel like, even though I can't see you, I can feel you, and I know I can feel you listening to me. I can feel you listening intensely. And the fact that you aren't asking too many questions is great because I must be doing a good job. Yeah, lots of homework, Patricia. Okay, guys, well, lots of love, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye. Bye.